Have you ever just stopped and thought about the absolute magic packed inside your smartphone or your Wi-Fi router? It's just crammed with countless tiny, unseen components, all working together perfectly. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of these unsung heroes. We're going to deconstruct an invisible giant, a tiny chip with a really long name that plays a huge role in our digital lives.
You know, it really all boils down to one thing: power. And more specifically, how that power is managed. I mean, how does a device take the raw, kind of choppy energy from a battery and turn it into the perfectly stable, clean electricity that all its sensitive parts need to work without a hitch? That's the big question, right?
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about the basic challenge of powering our devices. Then we'll introduce you to the star of our show, the RY6050-ADJM5R. We'll decode its superpowers, see where it's actually used out in the wild, trace its journey from a factory to your gadget, and then we'll wrap up by appreciating these tiny tech heroes.
Okay, so here's the deal. Every single electronic device we use is incredibly sensitive to the quality of its power. A battery's voltage isn't perfectly steady, you know? It sags and changes. And the power from your wall outlet can have all sorts of electrical noise that could totally crash your device or even damage it. So this is where some very specialized components become absolutely critical. The solution is this little thing called a low dropout regulator, or LDO for short. Its entire job is to take a higher, sometimes messy input voltage and kick out a perfectly smooth, stable, and precise lower voltage. The analogy on the screen is perfect. It's like a high-tech dam for electricity, taming a wild river of power into a calm, steady stream that delicate circuits can actually use.
All right, so now that we know what an LDO does, let's meet a specific, super high-performance example that's probably hiding inside a bunch of the devices you own right now. This particular chip comes from a company called Rockchip Semiconductor, and these guys are specialists. They focus entirely on the research, design, and sale of power management chips. You could say they live and breathe this stuff, and all that expertise gets packed into every single tiny component they make.
So let's get formal for a second. The component we're talking about is the RY6050-ADJM5R. The official datasheet calls it a high-precision, low-noise LDO. Now that part about the CMOS process, that's just the fancy term for the specific super advanced technology used to build it. It's what allows them to make these chips not only incredibly small and powerful, but also ridiculously energy efficient.
And when I say tiny, I really mean it. This thing is housed in what's called a SOT23-5 package. To give you some scale, you could probably fit a whole bunch of these on your thumbnail with room to spare. And that miniature size is absolutely essential for cramming so much tech into the sleek gadgets we love.
So what really makes this little component so special? Well, to find that out, we've got to dive into its datasheet and translate all that technical jargon into real-world benefits. This is where we get to the good stuff.
The datasheet lists a whole suite of features. You see things like low power consumption, high ripple rejection, a standby mode. These aren't just buzzwords. Each one is a specific superpower that solves a really important problem for the engineers designing our devices. Let's break down a couple of the most important ones.
First up, let's just look at this number: 28 microamps. That is an absurdly small amount of electricity. I mean, for perspective, a single little LED indicator light on your TV might use thousands of microamps. This is just a tiny fraction of that.
And that number? That's how much power this chip uses while it's actively doing its job. So, what does that mean for you? It's simple. Because this chip sips power instead of guzzling it, it's a massive reason why our phones and gadgets have a much, much longer battery life. Every single one of those microamps saved adds up. Okay, next up, high ripple rejection. The best way to think about this is like a pair of industrial-strength noise-canceling headphones, but for your device's power supply. The datasheet gives it a rating of 70 decibels, which is just incredibly good. It means it's a master at filtering out all that electrical junk, making sure the most sensitive parts of your device get ultra-clean power so they can work perfectly.
So, with superpowers like being super efficient and delivering squeaky clean power, where does a chip like this actually end up? Let's take a look at how these features show up in the products we use every single day.
So the first and maybe most obvious place you'll find the RY6050-ADJM5R aid is right inside your smartphone. Your phone is basically the perfect storm of all the challenges this little chip was designed to conquer.
And you can see exactly why it's a match made in heaven. Its low power use, that's absolutely non-negotiable for battery life.
The high ripple rejection is vital for protecting the radio circuits. Seriously, without that clean power, you'd get more static or dropped calls because the radio just couldn't get a clear signal. And of course, its tiny size is the only way it can fit inside a super slim phone.
But it's not just a one-trick pony for phones. This chip is so versatile, it's a go-to for a whole range of other electronics. Think about your Wi-Fi router at home, or even those high-tech portable instruments that pros use.
And for these devices, a different set of its features gets to shine. The fact that it can handle a wide range of input voltages means it can work with all sorts of different power adapters without a problem. Its efficiency, that's the low dropout part, means it wastes very little energy as heat, which is awesome for something like a router that's on 24/7. And its adjustable output means engineers can tweak it to deliver the exact voltage needed for any specific part.
Okay, so we've got this incredible little component. But how in the world does it get from the Rockchip factory all the way into the phone that's being put together on a production line? Well, that takes a super important link in the global tech supply chain.
And that's the job of a component distributor. You can think of them as the essential matchmakers of the tech world. They work with tons of chip manufacturers and connect them with the thousands of companies designing our favorite gadgets. And they don't just ship boxes. They provide technical support and real solutions.
A really key player in this space is a company called EBETTER Company Limited. They are an official agent and distributor for Rockchip, plus a whole bunch of other major brands. They're the ones who make sure that the engineers designing the next great smartphone actually have access to amazing components like the RY6050 ADJM5R. Their mission really says it all. They focus on providing professional, comprehensive, and fast services. It's about way more than just selling a chip. It's about understanding the tech and helping their customers use it to build better products and to do it faster.
You know, when you take a step back, it's pretty incredible. That smooth, seamless experience of using your favorite piece of technology is built on a foundation of literally millions of these tiny, specialized components. Each one is a little marvel of engineering, and they're all working together, silently, in the background.
The RY6050 ADJM5R is just one of these unseen heroes. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? As you're looking at whatever screen you're watching this on right now, what other tiny giants are hidden inside, just quietly and perfectly doing their job to power your world?